Hey guys, so if you've been to the channel before, you know I'm a big fan of the iPad mini, specifically the iPad mini 6. Now, with all these Apple rumors flying around, a lot of you guys have been asking me, is now still a good time to buy the iPad mini 6? And my answer is yes. Now is actually a great time to buy the iPad mini 6. Let me explain, let's ramble.
Hold up, place go wild when I pull up. They all on me like it wants.
Hey, what is up guys? It's great to see you all again, and if you're new here, I'm Patrick and this is where I ramble about tech and other stuff. So yeah, a lot of you guys seem to be on the fence about getting an iPad mini. You've been wanting to get one, but there's always this lingering rumor of an iPad mini 7 possibly being released in the near future. Well, I have some thoughts on that and why I believe it's actually a good time to buy an iPad mini 6 right now, but first let me explain why I think this is such a great iPad in the first place. Honestly, what I appreciate the most about the iPad mini is that it's not trying to be something it's not. Every tablet released these days seems to be some form of hybrid computer, or at least trying to be. The iPad Pro lineup is no exception. Don't get me wrong, I love the iPad Pro, it's what started this channel back in 2020, but the iPad Pro must be one of the most confusing products in Apple's catalog. Ever since the Magic Keyboard was added to the mix, we've been looking at this thing as a potential laptop replacement. Even Apple teased that your next computer is not a computer. And while the hardware on these things is getting truly impressive and definitely moving into laptop territory, the software is just not there. As long as Apple keeps running a glorified version of iPhone OS on the iPads, they will never be able to replace your computer. Just for context, in case you're watching this video later, we are in a week of Apple product releases. The new M3 MacBook Air starts shipping this Friday, and we are currently waiting for the new M3 iPad Pro to be announced as well, potentially with a new Magic Keyboard, which will make it resemble a MacBook even more. But I'm willing to bet that there will be no meaningful changes in the operating system. Anyway, the iPad mini seems to be completely immune to the iPad Pro's device dysphoria, and it is just what it is, a tablet. Sure, you could hook up a Bluetooth keyboard if you really wanted to, but that's not what it's for. In my opinion, the iPad mini is the only tablet left in the lineup, and that's what makes it so good. It's nice and small, pretty much the size of your average Kindle, which makes it perfect for reading. It's relatively light, so you can toss it in any bag or even stick it into a coat pocket, so you're not bound to bringing a backpack or a messenger bag every time you want to bring your iPad. The smaller size also makes it perfect for gaming. Sure, the iPad Pro has a better display, a much better display even, but it doesn't offer the same comfort in terms of handheld gaming. It's too big and heavy to be used like that. The iPad mini, on the other hand, you can easily pick up for extended gaming sessions without getting fatigued. And make no mistake, the iPad mini is no slouch. It is basically a shrunken down version of the iPad 4, which means it's perfectly capable to play very demanding games. And again, the size makes it much easier to carry around, and it's also much less obtrusive to play some games in public, like on a bus or a plane. Another massive advantage for me regarding the iPad mini's size is that it's perfect for note-taking. I do appreciate that some people prefer taking notes on larger sheets, and therefore the iPad Pro is better for note-taking for them. Personally, I prefer smaller A5 notepads to jot down my scribbles. The thing is, I don't feel great about whipping out an iPad Pro during a meeting to take my notes. It feels like it creates a barrier between me and the person I'm meeting, whereas the smaller iPad mini doesn't. Now, if you feel like note-taking isn't great on either of these iPads because of how slippery the Apple Pencil feels on the glass surface, I would have to agree with you, which is why I've been using paper-like screen protectors for years. In fact, the very first video on this channel was actually on how to apply one of these, so to have them as a channel partner right now feels kind of full circle. Anyway, paper-like doesn't just protect your screen from scratches, it adds this textured layer to the iPad screen, which makes it feel much more like you're writing on actual paper. Not only that, it also reduces smudges and fingerprints by a lot, and if you're slightly OCD like I am, that's a neat feature to have. What I appreciate about the folks over at Paperlike is that they never stop trying to improve their product. Matte screen protectors tend to make the screen look a little grainy, but with the latest version of Paperlike, they managed to get rid of that almost entirely. It looks great. If you haven't tried Paperlike, you're definitely missing out. Go check them out. There's links in the description below. Anyway, we were talking about the size. The fact that the iPad mini is so nimble and small, it can be used for so many things. I'll give you some examples. FaceTiming is much easier because it's so light and easy to hold. The iPad mini is also my go-to device to use on my teleprompter. The iPhone is a little too small and the iPad Pro doesn't fit. The mini, once again, is perfect. When I'm not using it in the teleprompter, I use it as a remote control to control most things here in the studio. And when I travel, I like to use it in conjunction with my MacBook Pro, either as a second screen, which can come in really handy, or I can use it as my on-the-go stream deck. In other words, it's just an awesome little sidekick that can be used for little things that make your life easier on a day-to-day basis. Now, to get back to the question, is now a good time to buy? I say yes. There have been several occasions where we have seen pretty steep price drops on the iPad mini, mainly through resellers like Best Buy, etc. So if you keep your eyes and ears open, you can find some really good deals to snag one up. But what about the Apple event? What about all the product drops this month? Yes, those are real. Apple has already released the M3 MacBook Air, and it's highly likely that we will see M3 iPad Pros very soon as well. By the way, I will be reviewing both the MacBook Air and the iPad Pros, so if you're into that kind of stuff, a sub to the channel would be much appreciated. Anyway, there are no real indications that we will see an iPad mini 7 anytime soon. Now there's a little caveat there because the iPad mini 6 actually did come kind of out of nowhere when it was announced at the 2021 Apple event. But even if an iPad mini 7 drops soon, and I'm saying if because that's a big hypothetical, even if the iPad mini 7 drops, I would still recommend the iPad mini 6 to most users because it's still completely up to speed for what it's intended to do, and prices will likely drop even further when a successor is announced. And one last thing I always tell people is to keep in mind that the resale value on Apple products is generally pretty great. So even if you buy it now and you want to upgrade later, if and when the iPad mini 7 drops, you will have no problem selling your iPad mini 6. But I'm willing to bet that if budget allows, you will hang on to your Mini 6 regardless, because of its many use cases. I, for one, have a very clear plan for the iPad mini 6 when it does get replaced. I'll remove the screen from this beautiful old school Macintosh, replace it with my iPad mini. I already have the 3D printed frame for it, where it will serve as my general control hub. And when it's not doing hub things, it will just be sitting there looking awesome. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give one of these. It really does help the channel. Thank you so much for watching and stay tuned for some links to videos you might also want to watch.